Hello YouTube and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we're playing Solace Crafting and we're going to be doing the basic combat guide. And so when you start the game, of course, there is a tutorial and quest line that kind of shows you the basics of pretty much everything in the game. But if you're anything like me, you probably either just ignored it or skipped it or hit it or did whatever you could so you could just experience the game on your own. And, kind of go through it at your own pace. And if you do that, sometimes there's things that you don't know how to do. But this guide should kind of flesh out the basics of combat so you get the importance of it and kind of know where to do everything. So we're just going to start her off, and I'm going to show you basically everything I think you need to know at a basic level for combat in Solace Crafting. So for starters, if you want to access your main character level, so if you're looking at it here, you can see that that's my character's name. This is my character's level. No matter how much you skill anything, so different harvesting skills like mining or woodcutting or crafting skills like smithing, those will never ever affect your main level. Your main level is 100% determined by doing combat. So you have to fight different things, whether that's killing animals that you may be hunting or killing mob type enemies or whatever. You need to fight to get your level up. So like I said, unfortunately, skilling the XP from that will only ever go into those skills, never into combat. And likewise, that level you've got there dictates the level of weapons and armor you can wear. So if you look at this armor, that's a level 33 iron jacket. I can wear that because I'm a level 35, so I can wear up to level 35 any armor type and any weapon. That's really the only restrictions there are on weapons and armor that you can use in this game. They just have to match your level. They can be any tier and they can be any rarity, but they have to be at or below your level. So that's the main thing. A lot of times people they'll like skill a bunch in smithing and they'll smith a level 100 sword and they'll be like, why can't I use this? Well, because you're not a level 100. You're only a level 3, So that's the main thing to think of and why it's kind of important to keep this all in mind early on. So if you go into your skills, you can see that in the attributes page here where we've got our basic things like strength, stamina, agility, dexterity, intelligence, and wisdom. All of these are determined by your main level. So for every time you level up, you get 6 attribute points. So you're able to distribute them however you want. And you can either roleplay really heavily towards one specific build, or you can do what I've been doing and just kind of put them out evenly. Now, I'm probably wasting points since I haven't once used magic in this game. Like, I just haven't even tried it yet because it's not really my thing. So there's probably points that I'm putting into intelligence or wisdom that I probably don't need to. But whatever. The game has been getting progressively easier the more I level up. So that is kind of the base level for what you do when you level up. And then on the more advanced side, this is also dictated by your main level. So you've got a bunch of different basically career tiers, I would call these, with apprentice being the classic magic type, disciple being your sort of, I guess, paladin or faith-based magic type, scout being your ranger kind of person, so like your person who uses a bow and a sword type of thing, so it's kind of a split between ranged and melee combat. And then your squire, which is much more heavily towards melee combat. And then each one of those breaks down scout, disciple, and apprentice. They actually have classes that are implemented already. So for scout, it's adventurer or archer. So archer is going to be more heavily towards archer. Adventurer is going to be more of that hybrid between the melee and archer. For disciple, you've got priest and spiritualist. And then apprentice, you've got scholar and magician. And for squire, you've got fighter and guardian. And so basically all of these skills for anything, they can be broken down into one of two things. You can either have a passive boost like this one here, and it'll be signified by this little green plus sign, which it'll just increase your parry level, okay? So it'll make that thing more effective, increase your agility level, stuff like that. Then the other category will have this little blue circle, and those will be special attacks or things that you can put on your hotbar. So down on my hotbar, I've got mostly combat-oriented stuff, and then I've got the number 9 I have for resource gathering, and the number 8 is a healing thing. So basically, those will be things that you can activate once you've unlocked them, whereas the ones with the little green cross will be passive boosts. So that's the main difference between all of the different skills. So you get your skill points for leveling up, same as you get your attribute points for leveling up, and you can use your attribute points for your attributes and your skill points for your different classes in adventuring. And that is all from combat, nothing else. And so another aspect of combat to, I guess, keep your eyes on early and make sure that you're not falling behind on it is going to be your armor, because the better your armor is, the more damage you can take, and so the longer you're going to stay alive in combat. And so if you go into crafting and you go into armor, you're you're going to see that there's multiple different types of armor, and these are going to range from lowest to highest in this order. So the first one is going to be your simple ones, and these ones are made with unrefined fiber. And so when you cut stalks down with your little reaping hook, the thing that you get from that is going to be the common stalks, and you can just straight up turn those into anything from the simple gloves, simple hood, simple pants, simple shirt, simple shoes. And that is a full suit of simple armor. And while in most games this would do almost nothing, as you level it up, it does provide decent armor. Now, obviously not great. You're going to want to upgrade from there. And the next step from simple armor is going to be thread armor. So basically this is just a type of cloth armor, and it's very simple to progress from simple to thread, because with thread armor you just have to make thread. And then once you do that, you can make the thread helmet, the thread gauntlets, the thread jacket, and the thread leggings. And so with those ones, it's actually pretty simple. All you're going to need is this little thing here called a redding vat. That's the second stage, what I would call the lightest armor, because the simple is more like clothing. But once you get into the medium and heavy armor, then you actually start getting into pretty dang good stuff that offers pretty good protection. And so our medium armor is going to be the leather stuff. So boots, gauntlets, helmet, jacket, and leggings, all leather. This stuff is going to be probably the easiest to get access to early game, because all you have to do for this is, I guess I shouldn't say it's too easy because there are a couple steps, but basically you gather leather from hunting animals, and there's just animals scattered all over the place. Most of them will give you leather when you skin them. Cows, deer, pigs, rhinos, alligators, hippos, sharks, all of these things give you leather. And so when you kill them, you skin them, and you get a whole bunch of hide. And then you have to take that hide and use it on a tanning rack. And so a tanning rack is something you'll have to build. And then inside of it, you can process leather. Then obviously at our heavy armor, you're going to see the iron armor. So we got our iron boots, gauntlets, helmet, jacket, and leggings. And now for this one, it's, again, pretty dang straightforward. And that is all of the armor in the game. Those are all the options. And basically, as you go along, the best tip I've got for armor is just periodically upgrade your armor, because everything you do to your armor can make it more effective. So even if you're just sticking at tier 0, so you're never changing the tier of your armor, you can change your rarity of your material by using it on the transmogrifier, or you can level it up and just make sure that it's sticking with you. So I would say, depending on how much you're doing combat and how much you're struggling, it might be worth it to, because I'm wearing level 33, it might be worth it to go up 2 levels to level 35, because that's how much I can wear. But basically, as far as armor is concerned, just keep it leveling up with you, and if you've got tons and tons of iron, then maybe it's a good idea to increase that rarity. But yeah, that's armor in a nutshell. Then as far as our weapons, there are tons of options, and these are going to be totally based on basically how you want to do your fighting, whether or not you want to do that as a ranger and use a bow, or if you want to be melee, or if you want to be a mage and use magic. That's going to determine that. But there are tons of options for weapons. And now you can't craft all of these initially, you're going to have to unlock them. And so basically there's 2 areas that you have to pay attention to in how to unlock making the weapons, and they're going to be smithing, which is obvious, and woodworking. So for smithing, you're going to have to gather iron and make weapons, and as you do that, you'll level up your smithing skill. And as you do, you'll unlock different things. Your first one will be the ability to make iron armor, and then after you've put enough points into that, you'll start unlocking more and more and more, because that's how it works. And the weapons that you can unlock for crafting are going to be the longsword, the battle axe, the flanged mace, the heater shield, the warhammer, the devout hammer, the chainbreaker, the duelist's dagger, the knight's longsword, the double axe, and the gladiator shield. And so that's all the melee type weapons that you can unlock. And then the other one is going to be woodworking. And in woodworking, you'll unlock the ability to make several different things, like the staff of light, staff of charming, apprentice's wand, the moon staff, the brute club, and the long club, which are melee type weapons, but you can make those just with wood. And then the spell book, which is used for magic. But everything else you can make from the beginning. So longbows, short bows, all that sort of stuff. There's not huge differences in the weapons, if I'm being honest. A lot of it's going to come down to personal tastes. The only differences are going to be, like, your two-handed weapons are obviously going to deal quite a bit more damage, but they're going to be a slower weapon. And so if you look at the stats over here, the damage it speaks for itself. That is the damage that the weapon deals for one standard attack. So if we're looking at a short sword, which is a pretty standard weapon, you can see our physical damage is 37, our speed is 258, and our enchanting sockets are 1. So you can put 1 enchantment on a level 0, tier 0, common iron short sword. And so, like I said, physical damage speaks for itself, does 37. The speed may be confusing, because if you look at the speed here, it's 258, whereas if you look at a two-handed weapon like the Claymore, it's 558. Well, the higher that number is, the slower the weapon is, because from what I gather, based on just the little bit of testing I've done, that is how long it takes to attack again. So 558 is almost 6 seconds. so like 5.5 there, and the short sword is only 2.5. So if you look, when we click, I have a claymore attached. It's going to take almost 6 seconds for us to be able to swing again, whereas the other one is going to be under 3 seconds. So that's what the speed indicates there. And then enchanting sockets are just what enchantments you can put on it. And like I said, same with the armor, weapons work the same way. As a weapon levels up, that damage is going to go up. As the tier of it goes up, so your different materials, it's going to increase again, and your rarity is also going to increase everything. The rarity is probably most important because A, it gives you big jumps in damage, bigger than levels or tiers do, but B, it gives you more enchanting sockets. So you can see that if you're just in common, it doesn't matter how much you level it up or how much the tier goes up, you have one enchanting socket. Leveling up the rarity of it increases your enchanting sockets. So, like I said, lots of different things to customize weapons and make them better and better, but that's an important thing to consider. So again, if you're in the tier 0 or tier 1 region and you want a better weapon, you don't need to go looking for higher tiered metals. You can level them up with your character and increase the rarity to make the weapon much, much better. A legendary level 1 tier 0 claymore comes pretty dang close to a tier 5 level 1 common one. And now, that may not sound like a huge thing, but going to tier 5 actually takes a decent amount of grinding because the outward progression in this game doesn't happen very quickly because your tools have to be good or you can't harvest the materials farther out. So, all that being said is there's lots of different weapons to choose from. They all compare pretty similarly to each other. So there are some with, you'll see that as we go through them, the damage and speed just doesn't change all that much. The biggest changes are going to come from your two-handed weapons to your one-handed weapons, the big damage and big speed changes. But when comparing one-handed weapons, they're just going to be pretty dang similar. So like even a dagger and an axe have the exact same stats. So like I said, weapons are mostly about looks, but you know, all of them are better than the stone club that you start with. And so just a basic tip that I've got for you early game for getting your combat up before you go hunting mobs is to just pair it with hunting, because then you're going to be able to A, build up a food supply, which is going to be very important because you do need to eat to keep yourself alive in this game, and B, you'll be able to start working in that leather working, which is a great way to improve your armor early in the game. For the first 10-ish hours of the game, all I did was keep improving my leather armor because A, I think it looks pretty cool, and B, it's super easy to get it to a pretty dang high level early in the game because of the prevalence of all of the very, very easy to hunt animals. And you also have the added benefit of getting your skinning up. So yeah, a basic tip, just if you're early in the game and you want to grind some skilling and also level up, go after animals. The ones that you can skin. The next thing, of course, to consider is dungeons. So if you actually want to go hard into combat, yes, there are enemies all over the map that you can just fight, but all of these icons around the map, or the vast majority of them, are dungeons that you can go and clear. And A, you're going to pick up valuable resources, and B, you can get yourself tons and tons of XP light, which is another thing in this game that plays pretty heavily into enchanting and other things like that. And it's a great way to level your character up. So different dungeons will have different things. So if you go to a lava dungeon, you're going to have lava/fire-based enemies, and that's a good place to find fire sources, which you can use for things like a fire font. Same thing goes for the water caves over here. That's how you get water fonts, is because enemies in there will sometimes drop a water source. Or you can go just straight up to like an undead dungeon, fight lots of undead enemies, or a goblin dungeon and fight lots of goblins. Basically, it's just heavily concentrated areas of lots of enemies, so you can skill yourself up pretty fast and get yourself quite a bit of loot in the meantime. Much more so than running around fighting these teeny tiny little map enemies. It'll go much quicker that way. And so, like I said, another big thing that plays in with combat and leveling up in this game is that for every kill you get, you're going to build yourself up some light. And light is, like I said, it's not a currency, but it's a crafting resource that doesn't appear in your inventory, but you do build it up over time. And so you can use it for enchanting. You can see that everything in here has a light requirement. I just recently used all mine to level up enchanting some more. But every time you kill an enemy that is not too low level, so the more you level up, the less XP and light you'll get from lower level enemies, so you have to keep going out farther and farther to keep skilling your character. It's how the game forces you outwards. But you get light, and you can do two things with light. One of them is to make enchantments, level up your enchanting, and make enchantments for your weapon and armor. And the other one is going to be for Solace upgrades. So the Solace is kind of the core of the game. It's the obelisk thing that you spawn in next to when you first start off your world, and you can also craft them elsewhere in the world. And now if you want to make these more effective, active, you have to upgrade them. And so one of the things that a Solace has is storage, and so you can store resources in here and you can withdraw and deposit them from wherever. So if you store any in Solace, you can withdraw it from other Solaces. So it's like a banking system for anywhere in the world. It helps you not have to run back and forth to either get resources that you need somewhere else or to deposit resources that you're skilling somewhere. You can just deposit them in here. And so a big thing about that is it's very limited storage, so you're going to want to upgrade it. And there's a couple different things that you upgrade: power, storage, and beacon. So like how easy it is to see the beacon so you can just go home without having to look at your map and stuff like that. And also just overall upgrades, which allow you to upgrade these ones. And so you need light to do all of these. So to initiate a demon attack, which you have to win to upgrade it some more, you're going to need 200 light and 40 light for a power upgrade, 10 for storage, and 50 for the beacon upgrade. So there are lots of things you need light for, and you can only get it, well, you can get it from little lamps that you'll find all over the world, but that's much rarer than just getting it in combat. So that's another reason why it's important to focus on combat, because light is important for the game, and that's basically the only way to get it. Alright, and then some more just basic tips regarding combat in this game, things that you probably have already guessed just based on common sense, but you know, it doesn't hurt to say it. The higher the level the enemy you fight, the more XP you'll get for killing them. And so the farther you get away from your Solace, the higher your levels are going to be. And so if you use your limestone or your key lime teleporter, or key line, I always say key lime, we'll go like 25 kilometers out and find enemies and animals to kill out here, you're going to gain more XP from it because you're farther away. And so the higher the level the enemy, the more XP you get, the more light you get, and the better the loot you'll get because it scales with the region. So you can see 25 kilometers out, we're in tier 5 territory. So all the stuff out here is tier 5. So if we kill something out here, it's going to be a tier 5 enemy. So like this stag here, we'll kill that, and you can see that was a tier 5 one. If we harvest from them, we're going to get tier 5. Well, we would if my skinning level wasn't so low. There we go. So we got some tier 5 hide, and it's uncommon because that was an uncommon deer. And so we got, if you look down in the bottom right corner, it says you defeated a level 25.1 stag for 0.51 XP, and we got light when it came up. So the farther out you get, the better loot you get from enemies that you defeat, and obviously the better materials you get from animals, and you also get more XP and more light for it. So if you're doing this and you want to level yourself up quickly, don't just stay in tier 0, move yourself out, keep going, get more and more tougher enemies, and it'll help you go much quicker. And so the last thing to talk about is your hotbar attacks. So your basic attack, which is just your mouse click, is very limited, okay? So if you want to try to make yourself much more effective in combat in this game, you can't just rely on that basic attack. Because A, if you're using a two-handed weapon, which I like to do because it just does much higher initial damage, it's going to be 5.5 seconds before you can hit again. So if you're fighting hard enemies, you're just going to die. And if you're not, you're just going to waste a lot of time because you're spending way more time waiting for that to reload than you need to. So what you're going to want to do is slot your extra attacks. And I've already showed you that, but if you go into places where you're putting your points and everything, you'll find all sorts of special attacks. So sweeping strike, a wide arching attack that can hit multiple enemies in front of you. Wound, deals damage over time. Things like that. You're going to want to pick out the ones that seem to deal nice high damage, and that way you can use your hotbar attacks in rapid succession. So it keeps you from having to really, really slowly kill your enemy with your basic attacks, and you can actually make yourself pretty dang effective. So here we've got another enemy. Of course, we killed him in one hit because I've been skilling myself out to much, much higher ranges already, so I can only harvest pretty effectively in the tier 5 to 6 range right now because of my harvesting skills and my tools, because like I said, the tools really limit you, but I've been going out as far as 100 kilometers to fight enemies already. So yeah, that is basically combat in a nutshell in this game. It's important, and you really can't skip it, because like I said, skilling won't do it for this game. You do have to, if you want to level up your character and progress further, you do have to focus at least a little bit on combat. And with everything I've showed you in this video, you should be able to do it pretty easily. So hopefully this was useful, and I've explained some things that maybe were confusing you. But in any case, thanks for watching, and have a nice day, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching, and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.